So this is a video to show you the workflow of how to use the animations that I have created for you. To start with, let's download Blender. To do that, I can go to blender.org/download and then simply click on Download Blender. Save this file. It'll take a couple minutes to do that. Once the file has downloaded, double-click to install. When done, click Finish and navigate to your Blender file. I'm going to pin mine to the taskbar. Now we can open up Blender. Now open the Blender file. All right, let's go to Open, and I'm going to click on Molecule Motion Base 1. Okay, this is going to default where I have left it. Okay, so let's just show you how to kind of navigate around all of this. What you see here is kind of how it's going to look without all the fancy stuff. And what these things are here, this is the armature. This is what moves the molecule around. Now you might be wondering, why do I have so many extra joints here? The reason for that is that these spheres, the atoms, were actually deforming quite a bit whenever I was moving one of the joints. So I fixed that issue the best that I could by adding in additional joints, and it made an absolutely huge difference. When you get in here, the first thing that you'll want to do when you're doing your animation is you want to have it in its resting position, and that should be where it defaults. What you want to do now is you're in object mode. You're going to get really used to toggling between object mode, edit mode, and pose mode. It might drive you crazy. It did for me for a long time. Okay, to select all, simply hit A on your keyboard, and we want to insert a keyframe. We want to make sure that down here that we are at frame 1. We're going to make a 10-second movie. So I've got the end frame is going to be 300 in that case. If we go under Format, we should have a frame rate of 30 frames per second. If it's not there, you want to change that. And we want to have our file saved in a dedicated folder that starts out as empty. So let's do that. Add a new folder. I'll call this Training Video. I'm going to click Accept and Accept again. If the armature is bothering you, you can click on this icon here, which is Object Data Properties, and I can unclick the in front checkbox. Another thing I can do is change the look of this so that it just looks like wires, for example. I actually kind of like that. Now you'll notice it did it on one side but not the other. This is the fun thing about working with this program and working with this molecule, but in the long term, in the long run, this is actually very helpful because you only have to do one side of the molecule and then you can mirror it to the other, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So in object mode, I'm also going to click the other side of the armature that did not get the new look, and I'm going to click on wire. Okay, it's a little bit easier for me to see what's going on with my molecule here. Another thing that I have done is on this icon, I'm toggling the camera view. Now be careful, because if I'm zooming in or moving this around at all while I'm in this camera mode, if I add a keyframe, it's going to stick. So if you want to manipulate the molecule without affecting the video, then you want to get out of this view, and you see this view looks totally different. So this is your edit view, and you can do whatever you want. I have the molecule set up so that when I'm here, if you don't see this here, I believe this is under gizmos. Under gizmos. Okay, so if you don't see this thing here, click that. All right, what that allows you to do is when I'm here, I can go ahead and move my molecule around. Okay, I also have my hand tool. that I can move around, which is awesome. And you'll notice, even though I moved this around quite a bit, if I go back to camera mode, I'm right where I want to be. Okay, so I can unclick the camera icon. I have the molecule set up so that when you click -Y, that you're getting the face view, and that's actually how the camera is set up, as you can see there. Okay, so we're in object mode right now. So object mode is going to control the camera view. We can actually move the camera around and change the position of the camera relative to the molecule, and I did that on several of the videos, and it was a nice animation touch. The way that I have this set up, I have the armature set up so that the right side and left side are not connected. I did this so that I can adjust one side of the molecule and then mirror the pose to the other side of the molecule to make my life a lot easier. So let's go ahead and begin some animation. So first, let's click on one side of our armature, and we'll go to pose mode. Hit A for all, I for insert keyframe, and then click on location, rotation, and scale. I always just get in the habit of using that for everything because that's what I usually animate with. Now I can go ahead and click and drag this to frame 30, which will be 1 second, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hit A for all, I for insert keyframe, and location, rotation, and scale. Great. Well, we're only half done because that was only half of our molecule. So we're going to go back to object mode and click on the other side of our molecule's armature. Now, go back to pose mode. I'm going to go back to the first frame. I'm going to click A for all, I to insert keyframe, and click location, rotation, and scale. I'm going to do the same thing on frame 30. And so far, so good. Now let's start doing stuff with our molecule. So I'm going to go ahead and hit all. I'm going to move my cursor to 60. If I do anything in this view, it's going to change what the camera sees, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to click out of this camera mode so that I can begin to manipulate my molecule. So let's say that we always need somebody to say hi, so let's start with that. So what I want to do here is, remember, I only clicked on this side, so if I try to manipulate anything on this other side, it's not going to let me. We've got some commands here, or we've got these lovely things. If we want to move our armature, this is the move, rotate, scale, transform does all those three things, and that's really all you need to get started. The shortcut for rotation, which I use a lot for our molecule, is R. Now, this allows me to rotate in the plane that I am viewing. If I change my point of view, hit rotate again, it's going to change how this looks. I can keep this just rotating on one axis by hitting R to rotate and then X to just go off of the X axis, RZ, or RY. And this can become, this comes in handy a lot of times. Okay, so let me go back to the front of our molecule and let's have this guy say hi. Now you'll notice I have a lot of additional joints here. The reason for that is if I don't, then you can see that there's some deformation here, and these extra joints that I've created with the armature help to prevent that. For example, instead of just saying hi like this and having this all wonky, I can change the armature by rotating on one of these instead and moving it like so. And then I see my deformation is a lot different. Now, one of the weird things about this is it's not a human, but we want it to act like a human. So I've done a lot of tricks to try to make it look like it's somewhat human. So I'm going to rotate to go back. And what I've done is a lot of times I'm using the third dimension to make these arms look shorter so that they look like human arms. And you know what? Let's see. Click on that. Let's rotate that forward. So what I've actually done here is I've shortened that arm, which makes it look a lot more human-like. Now my hand's all wonky. And I'm going to go to, there we go. If you want to just rotate it on a tight axis, sometimes it's hard for me to tell which axis, but when you get this little crosshatch, and what I do a lot of times I just put RX, RY, RZ, and see which one gives me that. And then I know, okay, that's the one I'm looking for. All right. Let's go back to the front. Oops, which is -Z. All right. And I'm going to click R to rotate that up. Ah, there we go. It's not the greatest, but I can make this a little bit nicer. I'm going to rotate this. So really we're taking a lot of advantage of the third dimension in order to make this look more human-like when it's actually doing stuff. All right, it's a little bit better. So I kind of want this to look kind of like its shoulder, and this to kind of look like an elbow, and then maybe this is the forearm. So I'm going to rotate this, rotate that. See, that one makes a pinch point, so that's why we did it this way. Rotate like that. Okay, that looks all right. And it seems like the hand is really high, so I'm going to go down here, adjust this stuff a little bit. That looks more like it. Okay, see how I have that deformation in there? That means don't do that. Control Z undoes your last move, and that is my best friend when I'm doing these. And I think I'm going to make this look, let's see, adjust that like that. Oh, that's kind of cute. And this looks kind of wonky, so doesn't look very human-like to have that sticking out there. So what I do is I'm going to kind of hide it in the third dimension. So you always kind of want to make sure you're looking at all dimensions, because things don't always do what you want them to do, or they look okay in one dimension and not the other. Okay, great. All right, now we'll go back to -Y, which is my normal view. That looks pretty good. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. That looks all right. Okay. So once I have this where I want it, I can click A for all, I for insert keyframe, and location, rotation, and scale. All right, so let's see what that looks like so far. Okay, looks very mechanical, but I'm kind of okay with it. And let's have the arm move a little bit, or the hand wave. So rotate. I can just do the shortcut R for rotate, and then all, A for all, I for insert keyframe, location, scale, rotation, all that good stuff. Okay, and then let's do the same here. And let's have it a little bit more authentic. Instead of just going in 2 dimensions, let's tweak this slightly. And I don't know which one it is, so I'm going to do RX. Okay, so RZ, we'll do it that way. And I'll kind of tweak it just a little bit so it looks more natural. Okay, A for all, I for insert keyframe, location, rotation, and scale. Awesome. And let's see if I like that. Now remember, this is going to go a lot slower here in our preview mode and all that stuff. But when we play it back, it's going to be a lot faster. So, okay. When we play it back in this program, it's going to go slow. All right. I like that hand wave, so I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to click and drag and highlight these and just simply copy. All right. I can just Control C to copy. And let's go to 120 here. And there we go. So I've got do. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back to the resting pose and then have him lean with the other arm. All right, so here's the resting pose. Okay, so this is all on one arm so far. Okay. I think I want him to just kind of hang out for a second before he puts his arm down. All right, let's see how that looks. Yeah, I like that better. He puts his arm down a little fast. So what I can do is click and drag, and I can go G on my keyboard, G for grab. And I can just use my mouse to reposition that to 180. I think I like that a little bit better. I don't want to copy that one. Okay, so we already have this for the other side, but we don't have this one. All right, so I'm going to go to 60. I want to copy this pose. So in pose mode, select all, Control C. All right, now we're going to go to object mode. And I'm going to click the other side here. Go to pose mode. Hit all. It selects all of this armature. And I'm going to put Control V. Oh, I don't want that. I don't want it there. I want it at 180. So let's just do that. 180. So let's Control V here. All right. Now select all. Location, rotation, and scale. Now, if I leave it like this, though, it's going to go all the way from here to here real slow, and that looks weird. So we have about 1 full second. So let's do 1 second. Which will be 150. Okay. Now it's going to hang out there before it goes up. And I like that. Okay. Now let's get our next pose. I'm going to go back to object mode. Click on the other side of the armature. Okay, the last pose I copied was at 60 frames. Let's do that, let's see, 60, and then the other frame is 80 for that wave. All right. You have to make sure you're in pose mode so that it'll copy. So pose mode, select all, A for all, Control C to copy that. Back to object mode. Click on the other side of the armature. Go to pose mode. Okay. So, let's see, it's bringing it up. And then there's that. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. All right. You have to make sure you're clicked on this part to do the Control V for paste. Not what I did. All right, let's try that again. All, insert. Okay, now I've got that there. Good. And let's do a couple waves like we've done on the other side. Let's see. Did 1 and 2, and that's it. Okay, so this will be 1 and 2, and I think that'll work. All right, so I'm just going to copy and paste those keyframes. I'm going to have him just kind of hang out there for split second, literally, before it goes back to the resting pose. Resting pose is here. Copy that. Put that at frame 300. Oops. To make sure nothing's highlighted there. Okay. Let's see how this looks. Seems like it takes a little too long to get that down. Go like that. And let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's have them go back to this position. All right. 1, 2. Okay, now let's see what we're looking at here. Not too bad. All right, let's save this as something else because I messed up this one. So I'm going to call this one wave. And we probably should have a wave anyways in our repertoire. So molecule motion, and we'll do wave. I'm going to do save as. In order for us to render this, I'm going to go ahead, since we called this wave, let's do a new folder. And we're going to call it molecule motion wave. Okay, gotta have a wave in there. Alright, I'm going to push accept, accept. And that's where our file is going to be saved. Okay, so I want to make sure it's PNG RGBA for a transparent background. And now we get to render our file. Let's make sure it's all saved first. Everything's good. Alright, render. And you want to go render animation. Alright, and this is going to take a while. And it just depends on the power of your computer and how long it's going to take here. But what it's doing now is it is meticulously taking 30 frames per second of the animation, and it's generating a separate PNG file for each of those frames. I'm speeding this up in the recorded file that I'm giving to you so you don't get bored. There's no reason to sit there and watch this in ultra slow motion. Alright, while that's doing its thing, there's a program that I use to render this into a playable video. And from my research online, everybody does the same thing. I have a subscription to Adobe Creative Cloud, or you could just get Media Encoder standalone, or just buy it for like $30 for a month and use it as you need it, and then don't use it. So, and it comes with just a million different things. And if we end up using the character animator for any parts of the animation, it comes with that Adobe Creative Cloud. So what we need next is Media Encoder, and I'm just going to go ahead and it takes a long time for that program to open. So while I'm waiting for my render to do its thing, I'm going to go ahead and just have that be working on opening up. Now in the background here, you can see this is the Blender program. It's at frame 300, and it looks like it froze. It didn't do anything, but it did. It did its job. We can go ahead and close this render window, and we're back to our original file. I'm going to go ahead and close this because we don't need this file open right now. Okay, now Media Encoder really does nothing else besides render stuff, so that's all it does. It's a really powerful program, and it's really easy to use. So once it opens, you're going to go to this box here, to the queue, and click on plus, and we are going to navigate to our new file, and I called it molecule motion wave. Here it is. Open the file. And here I've got a whole bunch, I've got 300 actually, of individual PNG files that were created in Blender as our render. So You're only going to click the first PNG file, the first image here, and click open. Okay? It imported the file, and I can see my file here. You're going to take your mouse, hover over the name of the file, do a right click, and go to interpret footage. Change this to assume frame rate of, we want 30 frames per second. Okay, we're going to leave everything else as is. We see it says ready here, and to do it, we just hit this little start queue. When we do that, we see a little preview window here, and it goes a little bit faster than it did in our preview, but you'll see that it's still slower. When we actually play this back as a MP4 video file, it'll be nice and quick. Okay, so it did its thing, and it automatically saves it in the same file. And let's look at how that looks. I'm going to open up my Explorer. I have everything under Animate. And let's look for, where's my wave? Here it is. Molecule Motion Wave. And it always gives these weird default things. That's why it's important to name it something that you can remember. I'm going to change the name of the file so that we can more easily identify it. Rename Molecule Motion Wave. All right, and now let's look at our work. Now I didn't realize that the hand was behind the head on that one. So I'm going to do that again, but I'm not going to record that. Okay, but it's pretty good. It's not perfect, but pretty good.